Hello, my name is Andy Staples and I'm the Head of Policy and Insights for Economist Impact here in Asia Pacific. Delighted that you could join us. Welcome to the third day of Economist Impact's second Technology for Change Week Asia, which kicked off earlier this week on International Women's Day. COVID-19 has highlighted areas of vulnerability in society, and this week examines how technology-based solutions can be applied to the long-standing social challenges that have been exposed. Day 3 convenes leaders across public, private and civil sectors to examine issues around education and reskilling in line with the Sustainable Development Goals 4 and 8. Once we've gathered insights from my guest today, a leading public sector speaker here in Singapore, please do stay to hear about the future of talent acquisition and retention in a world of flux, upskilling in the metaverse, optimizing the digital economy for SMEs, and how to elevate the disadvantaged in the informal economy through education and reskilling. Just before I start today's proceedings, I'd just like to take this opportunity to thank our sponsors for their generous support. I would also like to encourage you to explore the event platform, Swapcard. There you'll find lots of content from videos and articles to exhibition booths and speaker biographies. You'll also be able to connect with peers across the region. You'll also be able to revisit some of the discussions and view sessions that you may have missed. Videos will be available on demand, either at the end of the day or the next morning at the latest. So, to set the tone for the day, I'm delighted to be joined by my guest today, Kiat Hao Tan, Minister of State at the Ministry of Communications and Information, for a discussion on upskilling, SMEs and workforces in the digital economy. Minister Tan, thank you very much for joining us. You'll find the full biography of our guest on the screen under the media player. Minister Tan, thank you very much for joining us. And just a few words before we get underway to set some context. SMEs are well known as the engine of Asia's economy and account for around 2/3 of all employment in Singapore. A recent estimate from Google and Temasek put the yearly transaction value of Southeast Asia's digital economy at $240 billion by 2025, tripling from 2018. Digital manifestations of aspects of life, such as work and other previously in-person activities, will likely continue to proliferate post-pandemic. Work will likely bear some of the greatest impact from the shift to the anywhere economy. As people turned lockdowns into lemonade, many businesses came online last year, and business leaders have said that they worry about the speed of technological change. If organisations don't upskill their workforce in a strategic manner, they risk losing out to the gains of an increasingly digital economy, as well as the risk of losing top talent. Organisational digital transformation has moved from being a luxury to a necessity. So, with that opening, Minister Tan, again, thank you very much for joining us today. And I'd like to bring the attention onto us here in Singapore. First question for you. 2 years into the pandemic, what have been the opportunities and challenges that Singapore's faced as it looks to stay ahead of that digital acceleration curve?
Well, first and foremost, Andy, happy to be here, and thank you for inviting me to share my perspectives. The topic that you touch on is a very important one. It's not just about SMEs, but also at a larger point about transforming of the economy, creating opportunities, and uplifting lives of people. As you pointed out, SMEs in Singapore account for about 50% of the GDP, almost 70% of our employment. So on one hand, although it's an economic imperative, but it's also a social one. It's about social mobility, inclusivity, and uplifting lives. The 2 years of pandemic has really transformed our economy. We are working from home, studying from home, social interacting from home, and so many other changes in the way we live, work, and play. And no different from SMEs. But SMEs face, I think, 3 important questions they are grappling with. The first question is, how do we start? In a fast-moving digital space, you have so many jargon, so many new concepts. You talk about metaverse, people asking about cryptocurrency, NFTs. For many SMEs, they don't know where to start. That's the first question. The second question is, how do I implement? I know where to start, I think I know what to do, but can I get the team of people within my organization to implement, to project manage, and to see through the transformation of the company? Not so easy. And the third one, increasingly in a digital world, how do I stay safe?
Absolutely. So within that, and I think cutting across all of those three aspects, what's the role of the ministry within this? What's the role of the government in helping to get those SMEs into the digital world, helping them stay safe?
Well, I'm actually very heartened in Singapore. When we started this digital transformation journey a few years ago, oftentimes when we speak to companies, SMEs, the bosses, the pushback is always that, this is a cost driver. What's the value? But now the conversation has really shifted. And it's really say, where do I start? And how can I get support from the government and from the tech industry? So the conversation has shifted. And our role, I think, we wear a few hats. One, we believe we are a master planner, an architect, trying to lay the infrastructure, the utilities, to benefit the broad base of companies and workers in the economy. And second is really a champion of transformation, about pulling together institutional knowledge, what has worked in one sector, how can it benefit another sector, and common good practices, for example, staying safe online, how to prevent ransomware, how to be secure. And lastly, I would say sometimes we're a little bit of a champion nagger in Singapore as well. There's nagging and promoting and encouraging companies, especially those who have tried and may have failed, and really to continue pressing on your transformation.
One of the big areas that we are looking at this week, and we've touched on it, or you've touched on it already, I think, is around people and talent. So maybe if I could pose a further question around that, we see that people are at the heart of economic growth. How will digitization of the economy benefit Singaporeans beyond simple pay and so on? What's the real benefit to Singapore society?
Well, I will go further to say that people are not just at the heart of economic growth, they're at the heart of society, and I think at the heart of who we are as a people. And talk about digital transformation, really, I think it's really how to have the right talent in the right place to support the economy and the industries to transform. So what we have done is that we've taken a sector-by-sector approach. We've launched industry digital plans because the SME in the manufacturing sector is very different from SME in the F&B or retail sector, but have different set of challenges. So we worked with our sector leads, which is our government agencies, as well as industry associations in that sector, to develop industry digital plans step by step to help those companies in those sectors. I can go in on the web app, they call it C2 as a service web, you should check it out. I can do a self-assessment on my digital maturity, readiness, and know the other companies in my sector at my level of readiness, what are the good practices and what are the solutions that's available, and the company can do one step further. Understand the different solutions, do a comparison, functionalities, the cost, and if you need be, the shared pool of digital consultants to support them. That's how we are tackling the people problem, making sure that every company has the resources and people they can talk to. The second is really about growing opportunities in the tech sector. We're growing very well over the last 5 years. We've added 10,000 tech roles in the economy over the last 5 years, 50,000. And still there's 19,000 to 20,000 vacancies at this point in time. So we are building up peaks of excellence, people in deep specialized skills, AI, blockchain, cloud, for example, but also broad-based skills in terms of innovation technology, working with tech companies to develop product development, engineering capabilities to create new products for Singapore, the region, and beyond. And last but not least, importantly, applied technology in the companies, in the firms, fintech, logistics, healthcare, people who understand technology, understand domain knowledge, coming together to help the industry transform.
So bring that focus onto talent a little bit more. I mean, some people that argue that the future of work is actually the future of talent, and that leads us into issues or questions and concerns around sort of skill set gaps as well. How is the ministry, how is Singapore coping with some of those gaps? What have you identified, and how are you looking to fill them?
Well, we believe that the technology space provides many good opportunities for young people. Specialized skill sets I mentioned earlier, whether it's your cybersecurity, AI, data analytics, very good job opportunities and career progression. Secondly, in the non-ICT domains, in the healthcare, in the finance sectors, we're transforming the need for talent as well. So we believe in empowering young people and open up new pathways, diverse but structured pathways for them. We are doing so in a few ways. First and foremost, increasing the number of cohort sizes in terms of our university intake and graduates in the ICT space. Secondly, for those who are graduating, having more career structured pathways, especially for those in our polytechnics ITE. For those of you who are unfamiliar with Singapore, our IT and polytechnic are considered institutes of higher learning, and our graduates are actually very competent and very skilled, but they may not be book smart, they may be knowledge smart, skill smart. So what kind of career pathway do you have in the tech sector? For example, in data centers, perhaps in cloud engineers, able for them to pick up skills, apprentice in the company, and progress in a career. So creating new pathways for them. Last but not least is really supporting the inflow of foreign talent to support our workforce in Singapore. And we are open to the rest of the world, tech talent from the rest of the world to come in. Those with specialized skills, whether in R&D, in certain domains, to support the transformation of Singapore and to use Singapore as a base for the companies in the regional and global operations.
One final question, if I may. We've been talking about the impact of COVID and some of the policies that we have in place now. If you were to look forward, what would you say are some of the most exciting areas that, that you'll be working on?
Well, I think there are many exciting areas in this space. Huge growth opportunities, exciting careers for people, exciting innovation is coming out in the tech space in Singapore that serves a global market. But what my ministry and I are also driving is not just the economic aspects of it, but fundamentally uplifting lives, the social aspect. Even as we digitalize, as we transform, there will be segments in our society, in our community that may be left behind. People are more vulnerable. Our seniors who may not be full familiar with technology, right? Or people who are not so well educated from low income families, and how do you help them access opportunities? People with disabilities, physical disabilities and other disabilities. So we started a movement in Singapore, and President of Singapore, President Halimah herself is a patron of it. It's called Digital for Life, really helping everyone to be empowered and to realize their human potential with technology. And working with partners, for example, NGOs, VWOs, big tech companies, big user companies, to extend help to those who need. For example, we have a program in which we bring technology to the void decks, which are HDB, public housing, at the void decks at the open space below the flats for rental flats, so that families living in rental units, especially families with young school-going children, can easily come down, play with technology, familiarize themselves, and get access to laptops, to broadband, coding classes, so they are not left behind. Yeah. So I think many things to do, but I think we need to focus on also social cohesion and something meaningful and purposeful, so that progress as a nation, progress as one people. Yeah,
that inclusive aspect
exactly
is crucial, isn't it?
That's it.
Well, thank you very much, and that's been very insightful, very informative. Appreciate that. We are out of time, unfortunately, but it's been a real pleasure to hear from you, Minister Tan, about everything that's going on in Singapore, and I think that sets us up very nicely for the rest of the day. Just before everybody leaves, thank you again, Minister Tan, for your time. Please do join us for the next panel session, where we'll look at the battle for talent, nurturing, acquiring and retaining talent for growth. Thank you and goodbye.